Hey everybody, it's Chris with the Empower Grief Journey coming live to you on Facebook and Instagram right now. Wanted to show up and say hi because I've not seen you guys in a very long time. I have been dealing with a lot in the background of this book project, and it's been a lot of different things moving along. And so, what I wanted to share today with you guys is the following: the Empower Grief Journey is actually back up on Amazon for paperback copy. So I want to let you guys know you guys can go check out the book there today. I'm very, very grateful to share that our book launch went extremely well back on the 23rd of November. We had over 300 copies of this book downloaded and purchased. We had over 51 reviews on Amazon. I'm very happy to say we had five-star reviews. The reviews were absolutely incredible for people that got to read this book. So what I want to share as I wait for some people to jump on here really quickly is that this project started out back in June. I had recorded roughly about 40 to 50 podcast episodes with people from across the world, everybody from people that are from Africa, people that are from Australia, people from the UK, people over in Poland, if I remember right, over in the Netherlands, over in Canada. I talk to people all over the place. And what I came to learn, by the way, is that grief is experienced very similarly in many ways, but we also do it very differently depending on our cultural backgrounds, type of loss we go through, things of that nature. And so, what I was really excited about with my podcast is that I was getting all these different perspectives, all these different experiences of grief and loss and trauma. And what I came to find, though, by the way, is that a lot of us just weren't even had space held for us as we went through and navigated our grief. And that was a really hard thing for me to see and hear from a lot of these stories because there were people that did not have the support systems around them, whether that was family or friends, their work environment, things like that. That they were people that broke through the barriers of such heavy loss and grief, and they actually went out into the world to do very powerful things. And so, what I'm excited to share with you guys about the Empower Grief Journey, this book right here. This is a collaborative collection of 23 grief stories and healing journeys from people around the world. And I'm very happy to say that the people in this book, they mean a lot to me. They have helped me heal in so many different ways. I also been told I've helped them in certain aspects. So it's been a very collaborative environment that's been conducive for us to heal, grow, and also share our story to go help other people. Because I think that's a very, very important thing for us to do when we go through grief. It's a very isolated experience, it's a very personal experience. There's something that I can't tell you how to go through it. I can't tell you how to get over it. I can't do those things. But what I can do, by the way, is walk beside you. And that's what all these stories in the book do. They help you give somebody in your circle to walk beside you through this journey. Whether you're reading a child loss story like mine, somebody who's lost a parent to suicide, like one of my authors in the book, if you've gone through abuse in your life as a childhood or teenager, or even in later in life, going through that, there's stories in this book that resonate with everybody and every loss situation. And one of the most profound things about this book is that we're not here to tell you how to do it. We're not sitting here saying, here's the 12-step program for you to figure out how to get over your grief. What we are teaching you, though, is how to move through it and move forward with it. Because I truly believe that grief is one of the most powerful teachers that comes across our path in life. It's a place where we lose our identity. It's a place where we lose somebody or something in our life that was very, very important to us, that resonated on a deep emotional level that we oftentimes overlook because we're pressured by society all the time that, like my podcast guest yesterday, the show must go on. Yes, life does happen. Life goes on. Life moves forward. But oftentimes there's a process for us to get back to that place. And sometimes we don't make it fully back there. That's okay. But what it is about healing. It's about giving ourselves the opportunity to rediscover ourselves, rediscover our purpose, rediscover what grief meant to us, what we took away from this experience. Maybe there's some things that we have to change about ourselves that we don't necessarily want to do, but it's making us a better person and getting us into alignment of who we're supposed to be. And so I just want to share with you guys today, really quickly, if you could do me a big favor, because we did have a setback with certain things in the book launch that was kept the book off Amazon for a couple weeks. Uh, do me a favor, support me, support my fellow authors, all 23 of them. Please support them. These are people that put their hearts out on the line through grief and loss. There were some people in this project that actually reopened grief and they got to a new stage of healing. But I want to let you know this is a very heart-centered project, not just for me, but for all the other authors in this book. And we all put our hearts out on the line. We stepped out in a very, very big way that wasn't comfortable in many ways to help serve other people. Because what we oftentimes think about going through this project is that there's people standing where we once stood. There's people lost, confused, frustrated by grief, overwhelmed by it. It's a very emotional process. And a resource like this didn't exist when I went through grief. It didn't exist for most of the people that wrote chapters in this book. And to know that there's a resource out there available to help somebody going through a hard time with grief and loss, I think is a very powerful thing to give. Because right now, as we go through the holidays, me in particular, just giving my example of life, I always have to go through Christmas every single year for the rest of my life, knowing that my son doesn't get to celebrate it with me. He's not here to celebrate it with me. And so it's always a reminder during the holidays that I don't have my son. And I have to always think about what it would be like, or what would we be doing, or how would our family look, or how would I be as a father? How would I be different in some way? And the holidays are very, very hard as we navigate grief. That's something that I want to express. You know, I'm one of my co-authors in the book, Lisa Woolery. Please go follow her Widows Comeback page. You can find her on Facebook. She's been posting a lot about how difficult the holidays are with grief, and she lost her husband suddenly and very tragically. She wrote a very powerful chapter in this book about that. She's a prime example of showing us how the holidays are filled with grief for a lot of us, and it's hard for some of us to find, a way to celebrate and be happy. It's hard for some of us to find that way to move forward, because we've got a heaviness in our heart that is something we lost. This book shows you through the powerful storytelling and the examples set forth of people who've gone through different loss and grief scenarios, how to navigate those things. And we're not going to tell you how to do it, but it's through that storytelling that you'll find how these different authors navigated grief with courage and compassion, how they navigated grief with strength and inner emotions of empathy and sincerity and sympathy and kindness. You're going to see all that in this book. And that's what I think is so powerful about it. um, for me, this was a very hard project to do. I was working with 23 people across the world in 4 or 5 different time zones. And by the way, 23 of us have different personalities, different grief experiences. When we are writing about grief, when we're writing about loss, there's a lot of emotion that comes up. And sometimes those are emotions that we haven't held space for, we haven't processed, we haven't given ourselves the ability to understand. And that's really sad in a lot of ways. But what one of the biggest things that came out of this project was that the authors chose to go there. They chose to give themselves the space, the time, the process, the ability to heal. They, in many ways, were able to walk through certain parts of grief and never allowed themselves to grieve. It's very powerful. Um, so where I'm going with this is this holiday, if you are around people who are going through grief and loss right now, please be kind to them. Please hold space for them. Let them know you care. Let them know you understand. Hold space for them. Let them talk or converse or do an activity with you that would make them feel comfortable and make them feel safe and seen and heard, understood. I think that's the biggest gift you could give to somebody this holiday. I just was on a podcast yesterday, by the way, with a woman who lost her father or mother on December 17th. And so December's a really hard month for her. That's less than a week to Christmas. It's been 54 years. Grief doesn't have a timeline. It just doesn't. And it's something that we're always going to sit there and fall back and say we have thoughts and feelings and beliefs about that experience. And I think it's very important for us to honor that moment of life where we lost someone or something in our life. It's important for us to allow ourselves to feel those emotions, to let ourselves say that this is normal. It's okay. We don't need to rush it. We don't need to get over it. We don't need to move on. Doing those things is very damaging. You guys will find out, by the way, when you read this book, how powerful it is to give yourselves the opportunity to sit with your grief and allow yourself to process it in whatever way that takes shape. For some people, that could be painting as they go through grief and healing. I certainly did that a year ago. I'm trying to get back into that. Some people it's going to be writing. Some people it's going to be talk therapy. Some people it's going to be coaching. Some people it's going to be giving back to somebody. There's so many modalities, there's so many opportunities for us to help each other heal. And if there's one wish that I could give to you guys, um, or not give to you, I'll just say a wish I have for everybody is to really look at grief in a new light. Look at it as an empowerment tool. Look at it as something that's a gift. I always referred to it a year ago when I was in a very dark place of certain ways. I call it the gift in shitty wrapping paper. We don't want it. It doesn't look nice. It doesn't feel good. That's an awful, awful thing. But when we start peeling back that wrapping paper and getting it off there, and we start finally seeing what this is, we can start looking for hidden gifts, hidden blessings, hidden lessons within our grief. And grief actually becomes that part of life that propels us forward. It gives us an opportunity, a moment to grow, a moment to change, maybe a moment, by the way, to come back to ourselves in alignment and our authenticity of who we are. And to be fair with you guys, to share my own personal story real quick, because you guys have heard it a lot, so I don't have to beat it, is simply put that Caden was the biggest tragedy I ever had in my life. I can't describe to you guys what it was like to hold my son after he passed away. It was hard. It was one of the worst moments of my life. It was a day of reckoning for me. It was a hard, hard day. But what happened that day is that when I held my son, there was love, there was kindness. When you guys see my pictures, by the way, of me holding Caden, you'll see a smile on my face. You'll always see it. Paula, it's really good to see you. Thanks for jumping on the live stream today. I really appreciate you following me, my friend. I hope you're doing well down there in Texas. I know you have a big heart for your son that you lost. Um, and I know you guys celebrate and honor him in so many ways, like I do for Caden. So much love to you, my friend. Um, when I held Caden in the hospital, I had nothing but love and I had a smile on my face. And it wasn't because I was happy. I wasn't. I was sad. I was very hurt. And I share this to say that sometimes you see a smile, and hidden behind that smile is a lot of pain and a lot of hurt. And when you can recognize, by the way, that even in those most brutal moments of life, there is something beautiful to be said, there's something beautiful to be had. And my son gave me one of the most greatest gifts in the world, which was to get into alignment with myself, to stop looking externally everywhere for other people to tell me how to act, how to think, how to believe, what to do, how to do it, how to be fixed, that I'm somehow a problem. My son broke me free of all those chains and all those bonds in my life that were holding me back. If you guys go to my Facebook page, you'll see my post from yesterday. I share a powerful narrative about where I was 7 years ago. I was 249 pounds and depressed. I was not happy inside. I had bad relationships all over the place. I had no confidence. I was faking it till I make it. And to be honest with you guys, man, that's grief. It might have looked happy, but inside it was hurt. It was suffering. It was pain. And I always like to tell people all the time that just because you see a smile on somebody's face doesn't mean there's hurt behind it. Doesn't mean that. What it does mean, though, is somebody's trying their best that day to keep it together. They're trying to get one step in front of the other. And the best thing you can do is to acknowledge them in that place. And so that's why I wrote this book with 23 people. Well, I'm one of the 23, but 22 other authors. That's why I did this project to begin with. I did this to honor my son Caden. I did it to give him a legacy. I couldn't think of a better way to do that than to share that space with 22 other people, complete strangers I met on the internet that I now call my friends. I call them my colleague, and I treat them like family, by the way, because to be really honest with you, they are like family to me. I don't know how to say it. My friend Russ, I spent an hour on the phone with this guy today. He's one of my best friends. He was the first guy I did podcasting with, and he's been so supportive of me every step of the way, and I'm supporting him in the same fashion. And that's just one example out of 22 people in my book that I love as family. Um, when we put this book together, I wasn't even sure how it was going to come together, to be honest with you guys. I went into Chat GPT and was like, I want to write a book. I'm not sure how to do this. It gave me a basic outline of things, and I went and personalized it to the best of my ability. What came next through the writing process, what came next when I started getting stories, when I started having authors reaching out to me saying, "Hey, I need help writing my chapters," or "I'm stuck on this part," or "How do I write this and that?" Um, it became so much bigger. I mean, it literally, I started here, it just went like this. And it went in ways that I could never fathom and even begin to comprehend. But what I saw come out of this book was people reaching into the depths of their heart, the depths of their loss. And when I saw that, by the way, that outline I made was out the window so fast. I immediately knew that this thing was so much bigger than me. It was so much bigger than our authors, so much bigger. And when we were living in that space, there's nothing but gratitude and appreciation and contribution where we live. And when we're in that place, by the way, that's where we can give back to others who are standing where we once stood, to give them an opportunity to heal. Maybe we save somebody a year off their life, or 5 years off their life, or even a decade for that matter, because we wrote this book from such a deep, authentic place of realness and empathy and understanding and reliving our trauma in many ways. That's is what happened. When the book went through the editing process, I'll share with you guys really quickly. There's an author in there, and I like to keep her anonymous because you guys can read her chapter and reach out if you want. But she and I went through the editing process, and there's a part of her chapter where she didn't put much detail. There was just kind of this, here's the highlight of the chapter, and then it just dropped off. And I was going, you wrote such a beautiful chapter. It's beautiful. It's an amazing chapter. I'll share the name of it with you guys in a second, but I asked her just to add some more detail to it, and we ended up crying on a Zoom call for 45 minutes. And I could not believe the rawness, the vulnerability, the ability to be emotionally open and available. I love this woman. I love her so much. I have so much love for her. She went into the depths of a situation of loss in her life that happened back in the 80s that her never really had space for her to process, and also her family never talked about it. They went decades without really approaching the conversation of grief and loss that they went around. And during that call, it hit me that this book holds so much power because we were being asked to meet our grief right where it's at. We were asked to go right here. And that's a hard place for people because in society, we're taught to run from it, hide it, don't talk about it, get over it, let it go. Life moves on. The show must go on. And we find out really quickly, by the way, that humans are emotional people, and emotional people do not work that way. We are not capable of emotionally removing ourselves or detaching ourselves from situations. And what I learned in that conversation with her, which is why I'm so grateful to her being in this book, is that she really taught me the depths of when we don't talk about grief and loss for decades, it still builds up in pent up ways for us. And it actually, in many ways, can hold us back in our own life. It denies us our truth, it denies us our ability to face those inner feelings that we suppressed for so long. And long story short, this individual told me that she was able to have conversations with her father she hadn't had in a long time. She was able to talk to her sister about what happened. They both went through it at the same time. And her sister remembers things that she doesn't remember, and vice versa. And in the middle of this Zoom call, tears are pouring down. I'm choking up a lot because I had no idea we opened up this can of worms at the project. And I sat there and said that if that's the outcome of writing a chapter in this book, that there was more healing and actually brought family together and opened up the door to have those conversations that never got had, we've done our job. We have made our impact the way we need to make the impact. That's what this book is all about. This is why I share that story about this author. So to share with you guys, if you go purchase the book, I'll share the title of it. I'll let you guys discover the author on your own. Let me take a look here real quick. It's called Your Grief Will Wait for You. And it's a beautiful story. It's a very sad story, but it's a very beautiful one. Um, this author, she's a pastor or a minister, if I remember right, in Minnesota. And she has a big, beautiful walk of faith. And she actually uses yoga as a means to help other people navigate grief. And so I love the title of her chapter, The Grief Will Wait for You, because truthfully, it will. And it will wait there until you're ready to meet it. And so if you deny yourself that when you go through a loss or grief or trauma of any kind, it will sit there and wait right here for you, right here where my fingers are. It'll wait for you. And you can ignore it all you want. You can just move on with your life if you want to. You can, it's an option. But it'll always be waiting here for you to say hi. It'll be waiting for acknowledgement. It'll be waiting for you to feel seen, to feel heard, to feel understood. It's going to be waiting for that. And that's what I like to share with people is that it's important for us to acknowledge our grief. I like to call it a little child that walks beside you that you never see, but you feel it. It's always there and it doesn't leave you. Never does. But it's a little child that sometimes is very quiet and doesn't really cause you a problem. Other times, it's a very loud child, very angry child. It's a very emotional child. And what it's actually doing, by the way, when people say that phrase, grief rears its ugly head, grief is crying for help. I like to rephrase that, crying for help. And the reason it's crying for help, by the way, is that it needs to feel seen, it needs to feel heard, it needs to feel understood. And when we can allow grief, by the way, to feel seen and heard and understood, it gives us a big, powerful lesson, and we learn through that. Tan, sorry, I'm just seeing this. I'm on Restream, so I'm trying to look at messages at the same time I'm talking. Good morning to you, by the way. It's probably early over there in Aussieville. I think like 4 or 5 in the morning. And you're a day ahead of me, so welcome. Thank you for bringing the future in here. And Paula jumped on here a little earlier. Uh, Tan's I got a beautiful chapter in the book. I'll share with you guys too. She's one of my favorite people that I've met along my journey. And the reason I say that, by the way, I met her a year ago too, this month actually. I'm gonna share with you guys really quickly. Her chapter is called "Shattered by Loss, Strengthened by Love." And first off, before I dive into her chapter, I need to give a shout out to Tan. She just accomplished a huge, huge goal. 1,500 days straight of working out. I could not be more happy for my friend Tan for accomplishing that. She went through a tragic loss of her significant other, her mate down there in Australia. He was involved in an accident with a truck on a freeway and died suddenly with that accident. Um, she had to get the news from a police officer, and that went on a whole long string of grief that was very, very hard, very traumatic. She's has, by the way, been raising a family of four children, I believe, working out. She's become a coach. She authored this story in the book. It's a beautiful, beautiful story. But she's such a heart-centered individual. And the thing that I love about my friend Tan is you would never guess this level of grief and pain by seeing her. You'd never guess it. And it's the one thing that drives her and empowers her so much in her life. It's incredible to watch. But she shares this beautiful story about losing her mate Troy to a car accident and how she had to reclaim herself through that grief process. So she shares a lot about that through her chapter. Um, Tan is somebody that I love a lot because she's got a lot of David Goggins energy, like I do. She's very much a very empowered individual. She doesn't stop or slow down. She is just Mrs. Go, 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 go. And I love that tenacity. I love that fire. Um, but she wrote a chapter in this book that's absolutely amazing, and I'd love for you guys to check it out when you get a chance. It's a beautiful book. Um, it's a beautiful chapter. I don't know what else to say about that. She's been there for me a lot too, by the way, through this project. She's always DMing me a lot and throwing suggestions and support, helping pull me out of my funk when I was facing very challenging, difficult moments in the project. She was always reaching out and saying, "Hey, I'm here to help. I'm here to listen. Need somebody to vent to. I'm here. If you need a kick in the backside, I'm your guy on that front." It's been awesome to have such a supportive friend like that through the project. It's been really amazing. Um, I'm hoping that at some point we get to meet in real life because it's incredible. She's gone through so much loss in her life. She's gone through I don't even know how to say it, lots of health issues, all sorts of things. And to see her accomplish 1,500 days of working out straight and building a business at the same time, it's incredible, guys. And this is just one of the 22 authors in the book that wrote a chapter about grief. And you can see that she's empowered by it. Russ that I talked about too, by the way. Let me pull this chapter up real quick. Let me see here. I'm looking. Yeah, so Russ's chapter, the abusive father who never came back. My friend Russ, he is the epitome of teaching men how to be vulnerable, how to accept the fact that it's okay to have emotions, it's okay to cry. And sorry for all you men watching, by the way. Russ is a leading example of who we need to follow. These are the guys teaching us, by the way, to break free of those old constructs that men can't feel, men shouldn't be vulnerable, suck it up, buttercup. He's the epitome of teaching us how to break free of that and to become vulnerable with ourselves. Because when we do get vulnerable through our grief, that's when the real self comes out, our authentic self. And that's when we actually find our strength. And that makes us ultimately better men. It makes us better, just better men in general in life. It makes us confident. It makes us feel like we can lead. It makes us feel aligned with ourselves. Um, Russ's chapter, I'll share with you guys. I'll have him on here sometime, by the way. Um, he grew up with an abusive father, a father that was very, just had a lot of narcissistic behaviors. And, he shared stories with me that his dad one time busted open his bedroom door, threw trash on him, and yelled at him for not taking the trash out. That's just one example of things. But what was really powerful about Russ's story, that I haven't forgotten, and I think it's so eloquent because there's a lot of estrangement going on with families lately for some reason. I've been reading on social media. He shared this story that his father passed away, and they hadn't spoken in 25 years. And he told me about this moment of life where his first initial reaction was, um, oh, great, he's gone. Like the world doesn't have to suffer. We don't have to suffer. What followed suit with that, by the way, was not those emotions. It was the actual opposite of, I never got an apology. I never got accountability. I never got to have this conversation that I wanted to have for so long with him. And now I'll never get it. And so he talked a lot about how that moment opened up a real transformative process for him to heal in many ways. And I've been really proud to watch Russ over the last year. Um, he not only podcasts, but he does a construction company. He coaches. He does brain spotting. He does hypnotherapy. He's helped me in many ways with that. And I'll just say that to see this guy have those recognitions of things later on in life, just kind of like where I'm at, and see what he's making of it, his healing journey, how he's helping other people because of these circumstances in life, and his chapter that he wrote about this stuff in the book. It was very empowering. It was very inspirational to me. And it's also a reminder, by the way, that there's going to be points in our life that we don't. Trying to figure out how to say this. There's points in our life where we just don't deal with ways, and it doesn't happen till later in life, like 30, 40, 50, and then we start dealing with it. It's never too late. There's not a timeline. There's not a you got to get over it now. Um, there's not a time frame that you have to do this. And for Russ, that happened in his 40s. For me, it's happened in my 30s. Um, it was really beautiful to see a guy who's gone through so much pain, so much abuse in life, become the kind, vulnerable, supportive, male figure in this space, in this grief space. Because a lot of you guys don't know this, by the way, and it's talked about a lot in the grief community. Men are not taught how to be open. Men are not taught how to be vulnerable. We're not taught how to have emotions. We're taught two things: silence and anger, and we ping pong between them because when we get angry and try to express ourselves, there's somebody always saying, "Oh, you can't feel that way or be that way," or "That's not being a man," or what any of that stupid crap people say. And then we end up over here in Silentville, which means we're suppressing everything. So Russ has been really good at getting out there in the community for men and showing men how to work through trauma. That vulnerability is strength, it's not weakness. Having emotions as a man is not weakness, it's strength. Having the ability to face ourselves with courage and compassion and empathy, to understand that we just weren't taught how to feel emotions or express them. And here's an opportunity for us to do so. I think is just a beautiful, beautiful gift out of the journey that Russ has taken. And so I want to share that with you guys. I'm going to jump off 'cause I'm hitting the half-hour mark, but I wanted to share with you guys today on Amazon. You guys can kind of see the book flickering through my background. Sorry, I can't show it a little better. Um, I want you guys to go on Amazon and check this book out. If you have Kindle Unlimited, like I do, it's free. You guys can download it and read it. If you want to download the Kindle, it's $9.99. If you want to get the paperback version, it's $18.99. Um, I'd love for you guys to buy a paperback because these stories of all these authors in this book, they mean a lot to me more than digital. I know digital is really fun, so you can throw it on your phone or your iPad or whatever, your Kindle. Um, but there's something about the physical copy of this book, and I cannot really explain it. But when you hold it in your hand and you're reading these stories, it just connects with you. It connects with you in a very powerful way. And it's something that I think you'll get a lot out of. I personally, when I read, I like to highlight things or underline things or mark certain phrases of things in chapters. I can tell you in every single one of these chapters, you guys will find something of empowerment. You will, whether that's one thing or five things, you will find it. There's so many things in each one of these chapters that are just very powerful. It's why I say, even if a chapter doesn't resonate with you, I still recommend reading it, because, like I said, there's wisdom nuggets hidden in every single chapter. Every author has a different voice. Every author tells their story differently. Every author experienced a loss differently. But you really pick up a sense of commonality of certain things and even different approaches. Because, like I said, author you might not resonate as much as you would with another author. You might find that an author you don't resonate with actually shares advice that you do resonate with. So give yourself an opportunity to read every chapter. and you'll be amazed what you find through that. My grandfather always had a phrase: keep your eyes open and your ears listening. You'll never be surprised what kind of opportunities walk across your path in life. I've never forgotten that, because my grandfather couldn't have been more right about that. And that's what, by the way, came out of writing this book. I've had a lot of opportunities come my way, and they're still coming. And I want to give all of you guys who are watching this live stream, I want to give all of you guys that same opportunity. Pick up this book, read it, connect with these authors, by the way. If you guys, I'll share this with you before I hop off. If you guys go through a chapter and you like that author, you guys can find all their contact information in a bio at the very end of the chapter. You can find it and you guys can reach out to them. These authors aren't out of touch, or you can't come near them or can't talk to them. You guys can reach out to them. You can get on their social media, they'll respond. They're beautiful people. They're always wanting to help somebody else out who's gone through something similar in life, because they've walked the journey before you and they know what it's like to walk through it. And what not a better way to go through grief and loss, by the way, than to have somebody walk beside you that can make you feel seen and heard and understood. It makes it just a little bit easier as you navigate that journey. So anyway, I want to thank all of you guys for joining me on today's live session. I'll try to come back tomorrow and do another one. I plan on getting this book into as many hands as possible, because we have made such an impact with 35 people on Amazon leaving 5-star reviews. Go check out those reviews, by the way. I cried reading half of them because I had no idea the impact this book was going to make. And quite frankly, it blew my mind. I really had no idea that this was helping people on a way more profound level than I ever expected or ever thought was going to happen. And so I know that we have the opportunity to change the way the world sees, views grief. We have the opportunity to change the way people view healing. I do believe that we can help people heal so that they can find their hidden gifts, lessons, and blessings so they can go out there and pay it forward. This book is a pay it forward mission. This isn't just read it and put it down. This is read this book, figure out how to heal on your own journey, on your own path, figure out what works for you, and go pay that forward to somebody else you know. Because grief is something that doesn't discriminate. All of us face it. All of us are going to have it at one moment in our life or another. And we're all going to face that inevitable truth that this is a reality, and grief can become our greatest teacher in that moment if we allow it to be. And so I want you guys to think about that. If you guys have any other questions for me, shoot it down in the comments down below. I'd love to hear from you guys. Give me some feedback. Let me know what you guys think about the book if you've read it. If you guys buy it on Amazon, Kindle, or paperback, if you guys could do me a huge favor, please leave a review. It would mean a lot to me and the other authors to let us know your thoughts and feedback on reading this book. That would just be very, very impactful. If you guys happen to want an author signed copy from me, visit empowergriefjourney.com. You guys can order the book on there. I do send a little bit of a care package with the book, by the way, so you get a few extra goodies in it with it. But other than that, thank you for joining me.